Hello and welcome to Forgotten Temples with myself, Mr. B. And we are on the path of those ancient Hindu gods yet again. And it is this causeway that takes us to our next target. This temple was dedicated to Shiva. And I need to show you a photo right from the outset so you can get some idea as to what we're dealing with, because we're way up in the sky and on the edge of a cliff. So have a look at this photo and I'm sure it will impress you. Where I am is Preah, Vihear. It is one of the most stunning sites of its kind, not only in Cambodia, but in the world. Now, not many people come here, and there's a good reason for this. Of course, Cambodia suffered from the terrible civil war. And to the right and the left of me, I've been warned that the land here is still very heavily landmined. It is a very dangerous place to be. And last night, just before I left, a story hit the media, and that was the unfortunate death of 3 people due to an incident with a landmine. They were trying to demine it. That is how serious this location is. But my goodness, its beauty is quite simply staggering. Now here is something I've never done on one of these videos before, because that first shot was looking up the pathway that brings you in. Behind you is the temple. So I've come from the pathway at the front through the temple to the very back, because I want you to appreciate how high up this temple is, and then you will get a better understanding as to how much engineering, sweat, labour and devotion went into building it. And to show you that, all I need to do is go through that crack in the rock, because through there you could see for miles. And here is that crack in the rock. And we mustn't forget, this was a military position for oh so long. So we know that live rounds would have been fired through here and outward in the name of, shall we say, dominance. But as we step through, we see majesty, because have a look at that view. It literally stretches on and on as far as the eye can see. And it is from up here that the gods once dwelled. And if you want another echo of its previous military life, you don't have to look far, because right here are sandbags. But what we must remember is the Herculean task it took to build this temple up in the clouds. Behind is one of the gateways that one goes through, going up to the temples. But as I turn round, you'll see this is where the temple lays, directly in front of us. It is really a sleeping giant. It is absolutely huge, and it is one that people have fought and died over. And at the top of the stairs we are greeted by the temple. I have not been in, so you and I are walking in together. Wow, this is absolutely remarkable. The stonework here is incredible, and because we're up on that cliff, we get a beautiful breeze. Have a look at this. It is a temple on a quite simply gigantic scale. Moving through to the heart of the temple, we see that there is a further flight of stairs ahead of us. And I think this shot gives you a clearer idea as to the size of this place. It is quite simply enormous. Do you recall me saying that many people have died here? Well, there's two stories that relate to that statement, because this temple is on the border with Thailand, and I mean right on the border, and it has been very hotly debated by both Thailand and Cambodia, to the point it went to the International Court of Justice at The Hague, and it was for them to make the decision. Well, Cambodia were the victors, if that is the correct word, for it was deemed, were the ones that rightly owned it. But that didn't end the dispute, because in previous decades this temple has been shelled by both sides as fighting has erupted spasmodically. And unfortunately, on occasions, the temple has been damaged. But that's not the only time this beautiful giant has been right in the heart of conflict, because this, it is said, was the last strong point of the Khmer Rouge, those that killed over 2 million people. Because of its position atop of a cliff, it is almost impossible to assault it. But it was taken at the cost of many, many lives. And how did the battle end? Well, if you've seen where Pol Pot lives, just further down the road, about 2 hours drive away, in a very similar position, what the very last remnants of the Khmer Rouge did was pointed their guns this way and held out for as long as they could. When they were finally about to be overcome, they spun round and literally just walked across the border and disappeared into Thailand. It must have been a very bitter victory for those troops that had spent so long and fought so hard to reclaim this incredible site. Temples on occasions can be particularly challenging. And it's not just with the potential threat of death from landmines, especially in areas such as this. It is the journey of getting to these wonders that is often a very difficult path to follow. But there's also the challenge to myself, which is to try and get this onto tape so that you can appreciate it, because I am duty bound to do these gods their fair justice. And often I come across temples that are so small they're very difficult to convey, but this one is completely different. It is its enormity that makes it so challenging. It was built in the form of Mount Meru, where the Hindu gods dwell. And that shot I just took of myself speaking of the lives lost is just over there. Where we came in is through that doorway down there. Now what I need to do is run away from you, because only then you can get a true idea as to how big this single courtyard is and how much effort it took to get this stone up here. Do not forget that shot I took from the top of the cliff at the front end of this video. All this stuff had to be hauled up here with the strength of purely men and the assistance of elephants. It is a staggering feat. But now it's time for me to run away, so you can get a better view as to how big it is. And where I'm aiming is for that doorway, which is on that bit of causeway there. So watch me go. It is only a matter of feet before my microphone cuts out. But do watch me, because this is important. Look how small I already have become. In many ways, I literally disappear. I become insignificant. And that's the whole point. You are to be overawed by not only the temple, but by the God itself that resides there.
You can probably not see me, so let's now zoom in. And there I am, waving my arms, almost invisible.
So from that last shot, it was up there, and I ran down here all the way to this doorway right here. And behind us is the causeway that takes us through to the inner sanctum. And here are the steps that those ancient pilgrims walked for so many centuries. And here is that causeway heading towards the inner sanctum, the sanctum sanctorium, the whole point of the temple. And remember, this area we've just walked through, this courtyard, shall we say, is just one of a few. We've been through numerous gateways to get to this point. It really is an incredible sight to be up in the sky and see something that's nigh on 1,000 years old, has been so hotly disputed, and still stands here looking so majestic. And here it stands. We cannot go through the centre, which is the way the ancients would have gone, due to there being rubble. We need to go to the side. And here, with the sun glistening behind him, is a mighty lion, still guarding as a sentry all these years later. And as we move up, we go through yet another doorway festooned with lichen, and this lichen always gives it a sort of prehistoric or Neolithic feel. It sort of adds to the age like a fine, katina. And as we step through, we see yet another courtyard. We have to go even deeper through this pathway and on to that doorway. And onward we tread, each step as marked as the next. On the right, in the bright red, we have a lovely lady. She is one of the guardians here, and I'm sure her walkie-talkie is fully charged, just in case, you never know, the ties decide that in fact we're coming back because we love this temple so. And finally, we're at the last courtyard. Now have a look at these corridors here. They are absolutely fascinating. They do go both sides. But the reason for this temple lays before us, because this is the inner sanctum. This is the sanctum sanctorium. This is where the heart of this temple lays. So after what has been an epic journey, these are the last few steps to take me to the very centre of this little stone universe. It is absolutely incredible. I have of course removed my shoes and my hat out of respect. And as we move forward, on the left we have a guard, but on the right we have a monk, Suksabai. But what really surprises me is what's on the altar. Because have a look at this. At the very centre of this amazing universe carved by man, there sits Ganesh. I have had the most wonderful day. I mean, why wouldn't I? I'm up in the clouds in an ancient temple that was built to Shiva nigh on 1,000 years ago. And its heart was a great surprise, for there dwells Ganesh. I have never seen that before, not in the hundreds and hundreds of temples that I have visited. But it is this final shot I've saved till last, because look at this corridor. Isn't it magnificent? I mean, this sort of thing belongs in the Palace of Versailles, or maybe at the Vatican. It is a thing of absolute beauty to me. And if you wish to rest your weary feet for a moment, then what better place than this? Because it's here that you can hear the voices of those ancients whisper and talk. All you need to do is listen to the wind. And here, one can almost hear them. It is a magical place being within these walls. As always, I ask you to please like, subscribe and comment, and if at all possible, help me build this library of ancient temples that often are just forgotten and neglected. To do so, it's www.patreon.com/temples. Until next time, this is Mr. B wishing you absolutely nothing but the very best. You take good care now.